I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again on a walk in the New Forest. Thanks for joining us. And today we're just to the south of Cadnam, which is just off junction 1 of the M27. In fact, Cadnam is north of Lyndhurst and to the west of Southampton. A slightly unusual video today. I'm doing the introduction after I've done the walk. Now, my original idea was to start off at a place called Shave Wood and then head north through Shave Green Inclosure over the A31 and hopefully trying to find a location of an old royal hunting lodge in Bignell Wood, and then come back via Cadnam and try and find something called the Cadnam Oak. But things didn't quite go to plan. So I won't put up a route as I normally do now because, well, that never actually happened. But we have a video. It's in 3 parts. It'll make sense as we go along. So let's start the video. Well, I've parked my car at the Shave Wood Forestry Commission car park, which is just off the A337, which is the Cadnam to Lyndhurst road. Just about to start the walk, and as I was coming into the car park, I spotted something out of the corner of my eye. Let me show you. And it's just down here. It's a bit tucked away, but you can see it's a boundary stone. I'm just having a look at it here, just to make out Eling, which well, many years ago was quite a big parish. Nowadays it's just a suburb of Totton. Does that say 1760? Could do it. Or 1750. It's a heck of an old stone if it is. And then on this side it looks like it says Minstead, which of course Minstead is on this side. So I'm guessing it's more of a parish boundary than a New Forest boundary, but I might be wrong. But oh, lovely! It's lovely to see things like this. So I know it's tucked away, but been there for centuries. Okay, so we're now going to kick on and start heading north towards Cadnam, but through some lovely woods. We're now going to make our way through Shave Wood. This area, together with Shave Green Inclosure slightly to the north, and also an area to the south, way back in 1927 was one of 7 sites in the New Forest set aside by the Forestry Commission for gypsy camps. Must have been a tough place to live because there was no running water supply here, but the last gypsies left the area in the 1960s. So if I turn around, show you where we're heading. I'm filming middle of July. It's a glorious sunny morning, and we shouldn't get lost in here because we're going in towards the end of a triangle. You can probably hear a road. That's the A337 on the right, and eventually we'll hit the A31 in front of us. So a little bit of sawdust on the ground there. I reckon that's been put by some hash house harriers. That's basically a non-competitive sort of social running club. Basically someone that sort of known as a hare goes out in advance and leaves a trail of sawdust, and then the rest of the group, who are then known as the hounds, then follow and try and follow the trail. Obviously a few false trails are put up as well. I think if there's a cross on the ground, that means you've gone up the wrong trail, and I think they all end up in the pub afterwards. Sounds like a good way to spend a Saturday morning. Oh, I found a nice little den. Well, it's a nice dog kennel, a bit of shade for you. Oh, someone's had some fun making that. What do you reckon, Logan? Good place to hang out. Lots of nice smells as well. Looks like they're starting to make another one over there. Brilliant. Well, I just met one of the locals as I was walking along, just telling me that this whole area can get quite damp and boggy in the winter, but I say at the moment everywhere's bone dry. And look at this. I mean, this obviously is a stream that would have gone through, and looking at the way it's eroded through there, but there's hardly any water at all. But, it's quite beautiful in here, and I always say this, but I love this time of day when you've got the sunlight coming through the foliage above and all the patterns that it makes. And I have seen a few deer in here, so a lovely roe deer. I tried to take a picture and thought I'd got a decent one. I was staring at it and it was staring at me for about 2 minutes, and then when I looked at the photo it was out of focus, so I might put it up on screen or I might not. I love these sorts of walks where you're able to go through woodland. There are no paths that I'm following, and so you've really got it to yourself. And here we've got an old boundary bank, so we're just about to go into the well, this will be the Shave Green Inclosure along here, about 99 hectares in total. It was first enclosed in 1860 and planted with oak, and then sort of underplanted with beech in 1910. A few areas of the oak were cleared during the Second World War, so now it's got a mixture of Scots pine and oak. But lovely. I mentioned this before with these boundary banks, but when the enclosure was originally set up, there would have been a wooden fence along the top for about 20, 30, 40 years, just to allow the trees to grow without livestock destroying the trees. We'll momentarily come out into a little open space in what looks like a forestry track, but if I turn round, you can see it's dead straight, and I wonder if this is one of the old entrances or old tracks to a place called Bartley Lodge, which well, certainly is in that direction. It was a lovely old property built in 1770 by a chap called Edward Gilbert, who was Deputy Surveyor General of His Majesty's Woods at the time. It's now a hotel, but it has that look of a drive, doesn't it? And it's certainly deliberately been planted with what looks like an avenue of Douglas fir. Well folks, I've hit a problem. I've made my way up to the edge of the A31. Now, when I was doing my prep work for the walk, I looked at the map and I've been following a dead straight path that goes up to the A31, and similarly on the other side of it there's another dead straight path, and it looks as though there should be an underpass or a way of crossing. There isn't. There is a gate. If I come out, I apologise for the noise obviously, and there's the gate. It doesn't look as though it's been used for quite a few years, and even if I did go through it and got my way through those brambles, there's no way I'm going to go even attempt to cross that road. I see there's even a sign on that 5-bar gate, dogs on leads. Oh dear. Okay, so I'd say a change of plan. I think what I'll do is I'll head back to the car park and then drive round to Cadnam, because I want to see if I can find the Cadnam oak. So that'll be part 2 of the video, and then I'll drive round to see if I can get close to Bignell Wood and pop in there to see if I can find the remains of a hunting lodge. So that'll be part 3. So a bit embarrassing. What I'll do though, I'll put a suggested route up on screen if you're coming for a walk in Shave Wood and the rest of that enclosure, because it is a lovely walk. I'll see if I can find somewhere for Logan to have some zoomies on the way back. Well, welcome to part 2 of the video. I've driven to Cadnam. I want to see if I can find something called the Cadnam oak. Now, legend has it that every Christmas day this oak produces green leaves, having been leafless the day before and the day afterwards. And there's something, or there were something like 3 of these Christmas green oaks in the forest north of Lyndhurst. The only problem is I can't find it. It doesn't appear on a current Ordnance Survey map. I have got some old maps, and I've got one here. I don't know if you can see where my finger is. It's this is a 1914 map, and there's a big cross there. So this road here is old Romsey Road, which is what I'm standing on, and then the road in front of me is Cadnam Lane. So, and these 2 buildings here are the ones that are over there. So it should be somewhere in there. There is a stump I can just about make out. In fact, I've also got an even, I think this is a 1960s map, and again there's a cross where it's annotated there, but definitely not there. Well, that was a bit disappointing. I was speaking to the chap who lives in Bridge Cottage, which is one of the little cottages just over from where the oak should have been, and he reckoned that there might have been an old tree there once but it had fallen over many years ago. So we had a look. I have found a nice oak tree though. This is the Twin Oaks, which is by the imaginatively named Twin Oaks guest house. So that's been here a few years. And then just panning round, I'll just show you this. This is the Sir John Barleycorn, lovely, really old thatch pub, which looks as though it's been refurbished or going through a refurbishment at the moment. Well, welcome to part 3 of the video. So I've parked my car just in a lay-by close to Bignell Wood and made my way in. I'm going to see if I can find the remains of a royal hunting lodge. Now, regular viewers will know I've come across a few of these. Most of them were medieval. They were basically temporary accommodation for nobility and royalty whilst they were out hunting. The buildings themselves are only made of wood with slate roofs, so there's nothing left of them now, but virtually all of them had an earth embankment and a ditch around them, usually rectangular, mainly to keep out thieves and vagabonds. Now, this particular lodge, I've found absolutely nothing on the internet about it history-wise, which is worrying. It does appear on a current Ordnance Survey map, sure enough. But if you look at some of the maps of the late 1800s and the early 1900s, nothing showing at all. But I have got a very old map, the 1815 driver's map, which is based on surveys done in the late 1700s. And on there is something annotated as Prince's Lodge. So that might be it. So it could be a little bit like looking for a needle in a haystack. We haven't had much success with things so far. Well, we did find a boundary stone, didn't we? Let's see how we get on. Well, we've made our way through Bignell Wood, which is over there. I'm just panning south. That building over there is Gray's Farm, so we found that. So according to my calculations, the hunting lodge should be somewhere in there. Let's see. Well folks, this really has been a struggle. So, to recap, that's where the hunting lodge should be. I've made my way down here, found Gray's farm and headed out here. And on this map here, there's Gray's farm here, headed out here, and I'm roughly where that is there. And that's where the lodge should be. Now, I've been chatting away to the owner of Gray's farm, lovely gentleman, been here for many years. He reckons that there are no remains here anymore, or very little. And if I turn over the page, you know, this is what it should look like. Okay, I'm coming from the south, so there should be some form of rectangular shape. Well, I really am struggling to find something. I suppose you could say just along here there might be a corner, and there is a slightly raised bank along side there, but I'm struggling to convince myself that that's what it is. I guess that's why it didn't appear on some maps, but I think that's going to be about it. As I said, I'm not entirely convinced that I found it. Well folks, that was the end of our walk. As I said at the beginning, slightly unusual, but I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. We certainly did. So we're off to find somewhere for a nice cup of tea. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please give us a like or a thumbs up and make a comment. And as I always say, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Then hopefully you'll be able to join us for another walk sometime in the future. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Oh, that was hard work, wasn't it?